It is Saturday, November 30th, 2024 at Protestia Studios. This is an intelligence briefing coming to you from Protestia.com, where, as always, go to find the latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. Sign up for our insurgency email blast and support us financially by becoming a Protestia Insider over at patreon.com/Protestia. Let's get into the headlines. First headline at Protestia.com. Judge halts sentencing of pro-life activists facing years in prison. Will Trump pardon? 3 months ago, 7 pro-life activists were found guilty of staging a rescue/blockade of an abortion clinic in Sterling Heights, Michigan, including an 89-year-old concentration camp survivor, and they now face decades in prison. A decade, I believe, in prison. Now a federal judge has given some of them a reprieve, pausing the case against them until Trump takes office. This originally reported by the Daily Wire. Judge Matthew Lightman ordered Tuesday that the FACE Act and felony conspiracy case against the pro-life activists be paused until after President-elect Donald Trump takes office. The pro-lifers, including 89-year-old communist concentration camp survivor Eva Edel, face up to 10 years for their conviction on conspiracy charges. In September, the judge's order comes as there is anticipation that President-elect Donald Trump may quickly move to pardon the pro-lifers who have been imprisoned under Joe Biden. Back in June, Trump promised to review the cases of every political prisoner, including people imprisoned over the FACE Act. We would, of course, encourage that development and are happy to hear that this is a possibility. Next headline at Protestia.com. Baptist preacher preaches that he can't even look at Paul's contradictory Bible verses and said, "Go to hell, Paul." This is at St. Stephen Baptist Church, the largest African-American church in Kentucky, and the, quote, largest private black employer in the state, according to them, boasting that over 98% of St. Stephen employees are from the black community and that they, quote, conduct the city's largest voter registration campaign. Their stated mission is to change lives, to strengthen families, and to transform communities. According to them, senior pastor Dr. Kevin Cosby, according to his church bio, he, quote, is one of our nation's most influential leaders. He was inducted into the Gallery of Great Black Kentuckians at the Kentucky State Capitol and inducted into the Martin Luther King Jr. Board of Preachers of Morehouse College. Let's see what he has to say here.
I will say, go to hell, Paul. Let me say this. All the Bible is not on the same level. So when you say, I say that the Bible says it, well, that doesn't mean that just because you quote a scripture from the Bible, that is a priority of the purpose of the Bible. Just like you've got a quarter, a dime, a nickel, and a penny. Which one of these four is money? All four is money. Would you agree? They are all equally money. You agree? They are all equally what? But are they all equal in value? No.
This is horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Everything here in my hand is Bible, all equally Bible. But everything in my hand is not all equal in value. Salvation.
Disgusting.
And salvation is not going to heaven. Salvation has to be deliverance from things that oppress people. Deliverance from hatred,
social
deliverance
gospel,
from sexism, racism,
liberation
theisms.
theology.
That's what salvation is. Heaven will take care of itself. God is concerned about how we treat each other. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
That's not salvation. It's not the gospel.
Ain't no pie in the sky while you die. Something sound on the ground while you still around.
Oh, read more about this over at Protestia.com, but suffice it to say, we wouldn't consider this man a Christian preacher or a Christian at all if that's his understanding of the gospel. That's a false gospel. Liberation theology, the social gospel, is a false gospel by any biblical measure, so it should be no surprise that he takes the Bible and starts to rate what things are worth more to him than others. Read more about that over at Protestia.com. Next headline, late great Planet Earth author Hal Lindsey dies at 95. Hal Lindsey, the TV host, evangelist, and author of the infamous book, The Late Great Planet Earth, passed away on November 25th at the age of 95. Born in Houston in 1929, Hal Lindsey became a household name after releasing the book in 1970, which sold more than 36 million copies and became the most read book of the decade by Christians and non-Christians alike, even having a film about it narrated by Orson Welles. He popularized dispensational premillennialism with a doomsday bent, tying modern events to biblical ancient prophecy and scaring the you-know-what out of the masses in doing so. This teaching was his bread and butter, along with making apocalyptic predictions that never came to pass despite being based on clear Bible prophecies, quote-unquote. For example, in a message given in 1979, he predicted an all-out nuclear war before 1989, an invasion of Israel by Russia, the world running out of raw materials before 1990, and the meltdown of major nuclear power plants and the destruction of the nation's dams in 1982. He also told folks that the rapture was at hand and would occur in their lifetimes. Yes, Hal Lindsey, a good example of dispensationalism run amok. I am, as many of you know, and many of the other gentlemen who write at Protestia, we are premillennialists, but we do not subscribe to the having big charts and graphs and things and predicting how the eschaton will occur and what time it will occur and all that kind of stuff. But Hal Lindsey, very clearly in that category. He is now passed away at 95 years old. Read more over at Protestia.com. Next headline, New York Archdiocese sells headquarters for $100 million, lays off workers to pay sex case abuses. The Archdiocese of New York, under the leadership of Cardinal Timothy Dolan, has announced the first round of a series of layoffs of workers within the organization, a needed restructuring to save money to pay victims of sexual abuse. Last month, the Archdiocese announced it had sold its longtime office headquarters for more than $100 million. It was belonging to them, but it is a 20-story Terence Cardinal Cook building, as they call it, also housing offices for Catholic Charities of New York and Catholic Near East Welfare Association, and is now being sold off to be redeveloped as residential units within the Archdiocese, as the Archdiocese, downsizes to a more practical and humble location. You could read more about this at Protestia.com, but in the same way, the Archdiocese of Los Angeles recently agreed to pay nearly $1 billion in a sex abuse settlement, so too the Archdiocese of New York is looking for the monetary means to pay restitution to victims. Read more about this over at Protestia.com. Next headline at Protestia, heretical TV channel Daystar threatens Christian YouTubers for pointing out that they indeed host heretics. Heresy purveyor Daystar Television Network has employed the law firm Kelly Hart and Hallman LLP to send requests for retractions via cease and desist letters. We call them nasty grams, as a ministry that's received more than our fair share, to several YouTube discernment ministries and social media channels that have been critical of the heretical network and the actions of their president, Joni Lamb, who is being accused of covering up and downplaying sexual abuse by her son and daughter-in-law, Jonathan and Susie Lamb. Some of these channels that have been hit with requests for, quote, correction and retraction of statements with the threat of defamation lawsuits levied against them if they don't remove the so-called defamatory statements include the Smart Christians channel, Torn Curtain by Joshua Simone, Revealing Truth, Brother John Elving, and our favorite blogger, Julie Royce. One target of the heresy promoting network, the Revealing Truth YouTube channel, received a nasty gram for comments made in the video entitled Daystar's Dark Secret Exposed. In this case, the heretical channel wants a retraction for claiming the television network is, quote, quite similar to TBN, that's Trinity Broadcast Network, and that they host all of the biggest heretics and that they support heretics. We have a picture here. You could see a screenshot of, looks like the PDF embedded probably from Julie Royce's website, I'm not sure, but outlining some of the quotes that the TBN lawyers the Daystar lawyers are taking issue with. Of course, None of these statements comes anywhere close to a legal threshold for defamation. Aside from being theological judgments, they're some of the truest things that have ever been said about the network. Daystar can whine all they want about being compared to TBN, but in truth, TBN would likely be an upgrade in terms of heretics per minute. It's hard to deny being a heretic host when you carry programming featuring Jesse Duplantis. You can read more about our details over here at Protestia.com. Under that headline, heretical TV channel Daystar threatens Christian YouTubers, including some embeds from Brother John Elving and a video from us, which is a clip from Corey Miner's Smart Christians channel. Read more over at Protestia.com. Next headline, Planned Parenthood says vasectomy appointments are up 1,200% following the Trump win. A Planned Parenthood representative has confirmed claims they saw appointments for vasectomies increase by 1,200% the day after the election, revealing that vast increases in other service requests have also occurred as progressives irrationally scrambled following a post-Trump victory. This a screenshot of Lila Rose over at Twitter, now called X, saying after Election Day, Planned Parenthood is reporting a 760% increase in IUD appointments and a 1,200% increase in vasectomies. Today's leftist ideology is built on the fear of children, the future, and life itself. Truly sad. Indeed, it is. Read more about this over at Protestia.com, where we have links that are confirming the stats that I just read to you. Next headline at Protestia, Christian news host announces she's pulling her show from embattled Daystar over network's, quote, ethical deficits. Recent scandals at Daystar have impacted the programming lineup. Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, that's a mouthful, announced she is pulling her show, Laura Lynn Live at the Eagle's Nest, from the embattled television network due to ethical deficits. Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson is the former co-host of the 700 Club Canada and author of Relentless Redemption. According to her Daystar profile, her show is a daily online broadcast bringing attention to current news and politics, where she is, quote, known as one of the most courageous women speaking out against the leftist agenda and woke culture. She announced a few days ago, it is with great sadness and personal angst that we are going to give notice to Daystar Canada that we will be removing our show from their network as per our contract. Last week, Jonathan and his wife, Susie, from Daystar, that is, made public allegations to Julie Roys that Joni Lamb and Daystar tried covering up their daughter's sexual abuse at the hands of a male relative. They say not only did Joni encourage them not to go to the police, but she even defended the perpetrator and made justifications for why he couldn't possibly have done it, even going so far as to suggest that she prayed to God and that God told her the alleged molester was innocent. There are links to this information at Protestia.com under the headline, Christian news host announces she's pulling show from the embattled Daystar network. Last headline for this intelligence briefing, an insider article we would commend to you entitled MLK 50 for Theonomists. Some of you remember back in 2019, there was an MLK 50 conference, which was like an evangelical gathering for wokeness, and supposed quote-unquote racial reconciliation. And J.D. Hall, writing at Protestia for Insiders, is making the argument that the Antioch Declaration, as they call it, and a lot of the discussion around that has some similarities to MLK 50, but in this case for theonomists rather than for woke racial reconciliation, social justice types. The article reads, admittedly, Protestia hasn't taken much of a stance on Christian nationalism, and for no other reason than the definition is fluid. And it's not the fake kind of fluid, like the gender of a blue-haired freshman at a public university. It's legitimately fluid, changing all the time. For us, it has sufficed to merely lay out its potential problems and potential benefits while encouraging everybody involved to be thoroughly biblical. That said, it hasn't been difficult to make a stance on the Antioch Declaration, which both David Morrill, that's me, and J.D. Hall wrote various pieces explaining its suspect motivations and broad brushing of so many good brethren with accusations that lack either substance or charity, to whom charity is well deserved. You can read this article if you are a Protestia Insider by heading over to patreon.com/Protestia, signing up for $5.95 a month or up. and then logging in to Protestia.com with your Patreon account, after which you will see the full article. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Intelligence Briefing for Saturday, the 30th of November, 2024. Stay tuned to Protestia.com for all of your latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. Go to church tomorrow and worship with the saints. If you're in Colorado, perhaps I will see you there. If not, I won't see you, but you'll be worshiping anyway, and that is, of course, a good thing. Stay tuned to Protestia.com. We'll talk to you again real soon. As always, Semper Reformanda.